And welcome back, my friends. My name is Alexandria Williams Hall. I am a children's book author, murder mystery novelist, and creative entrepreneur. And today's video is going to be a little extra special because I am being joined by my incredibly talented friend and illustrator, Zoe Malors. We will be taking you behind the scenes and giving you an honest look about what it really looks like to bring your children's book with an illustrator to life. And most importantly, how to choose the right illustrator for your children's book. And to make it easier for you to follow along, we're going to break this down into sections. First, we're going to break it down to how Zoe and I met and the best strategies to find an illustrator. We'll also take you through the process of working with a trustworthy illustrator and what that may look like behind the scenes, how to tell if your work is being presented in a genuine form from the creator or if they may be using AI, and more. And as an author, it's important to remember finding the right illustrator for your children's book is not just simply about liking someone's artistic style. It's also about trust, communication, and a shared vision. So if you're a children's book author, or maybe an aspiring children's book author, maybe you're in the middle of your first project and you're wanting to learn more about the process, or you're just simply curious to know what that partnership looks like between an author and the illustrator. If any of those spoke to you, this video is for you. So without further ado, let's roll the clip. Well, hello, Zoe, and thank you for joining me for this next YouTube video. To kick us off, I thought I would let you introduce yourself and share where you're from, and then we'll get into how we met.
Yeah, that sounds great. So thank you for having me for starters. So my name is Zoe Mellors, as you know. I am an illustrator based in the UK, currently based in Derbyshire. I have absolutely loved books and reading my entire life. Anything to do with the story, whether it's the theatre, films, books, I am in love with it. So I went to university at the University of Lincoln in the UK, where I studied to become an illustrator. Took a few years after that to find my style, work through how I wanted to draw. It takes a little bit longer than you think it will to find your own voice and to really get that to a point where you're happy with sharing it and happy with giving that out to the world. And then, yeah, I kind of stumbled into it. I got very lucky that my boss at the time knew somebody that was publishing their first book and got us in touch. And then from then, I've always had some form of book or graphic design project or something on, to the point where a few years ago, I was finally able to go full-time freelance as a book illustrator. So now I've got something like a 50 odd children's picture books that I've illustrated. And then I also do book design and formatting. So I've done over 100 books now on Amazon for self-published authors in the UK, in America, in France, a little bit of everywhere.
A little bit everywhere. And honestly, your work is some of the most beautiful. And I'm not just saying this because you're my illustrator either, but your work is so beautiful. I was obsessed with your attention to detail when I first saw your work.
Yeah, I've tried minimal a few times, and every time I try, I just continue.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is the one. This is the one where I'm just going to make it so simple. And
Yeah.
then I'm drawing individual strands of hair, and I'm just like, that's just not. It's just not me.
Yeah.
I can't. I can't do minimal,
No,
sadly.
you have to put all your heart and soul into it, and it shows.
Mm.
It's so beautiful. I know finding an illustrator can be very hard, especially if you don't know where to look, you don't know who to trust with your project. Because I know as authors, coming from the author side, and I know you know from working with me and working with your other clients, we take a lot of pride and we want to be very careful with who we give our work to, and we really want it to rise to the occasion. And wanted to make sure that I found the right visionary and illustrator to bring my character to life because I knew the potential the stories had. I went through Facebook groups actually, and I just typed, which learned really quickly that is how I found you, but I wish I had known before I had gone onto that Facebook group and just said, "Hi, I'm looking for an illustrator. I'm an author and I just wrote this
Oh,
book." Yeah,
hundreds of comments.
yeah,
Yeah.
hundreds. I went through probably over 400 comments of so many people saying, "Oh, pick me, like, oh, I can offer you this, I can offer you that." And it was stressful. It was so stressful. But that is when Nastasia reached out to me and said, "Hey, we're based in the UK and I have a couple of amazing children's book illustrators. You should check them out." And I was this close to being like, you know what, maybe this process isn't for me. I don't need to illustrate these. It'll be a pipe dream, it'll be a daydream, it's fine. But then I went on to Stardust Book Services and I found you and I looked at your work and I said, yes. I said, this woman is talented. I need to call Zoe right now. So, and that is how I found you. So thank you to that Facebook group for getting me to you. Even though it was a long process, long time coming,
Mm,
but it worked.
yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. As long as it works.
As long as it works, as long as it works. So I guess on that note, as an illustrator, do you have any advice from the illustrator side for authors if they're looking for an illustrator? What is the best tactics to find that right person?
Honestly, I have so much advice. Um, it's it's one of those things that can be so overwhelming, as you say, if you go onto a group and you just say, oh, I'd like an illustrator. Not only do you get 100 comments, but sometimes you get the same person commenting like 20 different times with different images that they've done. And it can be so overwhelming. And my very first one is to go to your local children's bookstore and find a style that you like. It doesn't have to be that specific illustrator or that specific like person, but do you like watercolor? Do you like it too busy? Do you want something a bit more delicate and a bit more simple? If you have these in mind going in, then when you're asking for an illustrator, you can actively say, I want watercolor.
Mm.
So if you're not watercolor, don't speak to me. Now, you will find that there will still be a bunch of people that just
Do it anyway.
anyway throw it
Yeah.
out there, but it at least gives you an idea of what you're just instantly saying, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
The second thing would be to reach out to other self-published authors, especially authors that you respect within the industry. There's quite a few Facebook groups, or places like Stardust. There's loads of smaller companies now that help authors to find illustrators that they have worked with or that their community have worked with. So getting a great review is always amazing because it's not just about how good the artwork is, but it's how well that person communicates. Does
Mm.
it frustrate you that they don't answer your messages for a month? Or do they take the money and then just like split? Or even what is their payment? If they take 100% payment up front, that will be terrifying.
Mm.
So definitely speak to other authors and get a feel for who they enjoyed working with. Um, and also a great thing to do is if that illustrator has a social media presence, a Facebook, you can always check out their reviews on there as well. And then maybe even have a look at the books that they've worked on together and see if their style fits. And the big one for me actually is if you find an illustrator that you do like, I highly recommend booking a sample with that person first. So rather than booking the entire book, maybe go down to about 3 illustrators that you really like and do expect to pay for it, but pay each of them for a sample.
Mm.
That way you can really get a feel for how does my character look in their style, but also do I like working with this person? Do they answer me? Do they talk to me in a way that I feel respected and listened to?
I think our experience and my experience of finding you and finding Stardust, I truly fell into it. I wasn't looking for it. It just kind of happened. So I would say I'm very blessed to be one of the lucky ones where I did just yeah, I happened to see Nastasia's comment on Facebook, clicked on the link, found your picture, found your work, and I said,
Mm.
"Yep, I trust her. We're gonna make it happen." I was like, "I love her work. I love this. Looks great." So we did not do the sample thing. I just kind of was said, "Okay, how do I get started?" Here we go. Let's do it.
And that's what's great about something like Stardust with Nastasia, because she's personally already vetted me. So
Mm,
she wouldn't have me on her side unless
right.
she knew she could trust me. So you kind
Mhm.
of got that guarantee in place of, you know,
Yes.
you've got her on your side as well. So that if I wasn't pulling my weight for whatever reason, or I went quiet, there's somebody else for you to
Yeah.
go to and be like, just poker.
Yes,
She's
yes.
not answering me, but obviously that's not something we've ever had any problems with. But it does
No,
give you
yeah.
that layer of security of you've got somebody else on your side
Yes.
and they've already vetted the people that you're working with. So makes
Yes.
everything a lot smoother.
I was going to talk about the process of creating Gidget the Pretty Kitty Detective. We would have so many meetings constantly. We'd constantly be on Zoom, and we would always have, idea meetings or process meetings where we were in the illustrations or if we needed to change up the manuscript in a way. So we were involved together constantly
Yes.
whole process, which is what I love too, because I love hands-on and I love seeing how it's developing. And I know that's how you like it too. That's why we do all the process. Like if you're working with a really good illustrator, they may do the process of, like you said, the sketch to what's the next part that you like to say?
I
It's
do the concept sketch and
the
then the polished
concept.
sketch.
Yes. And then there's the color picks, and you can do the colors and then just make sure it's all flowing right. And then you get your final sketch after that. And yeah, and so I love the process. I love that it's so seamless too. And you just go from one step to the next and then watch it grow. That's the coolest part.
And it hopefully gives, I'm sure you can agree with me or disagree with me, but hopefully gives the author enough chance to be able to say, this isn't the direction I thought it was going to go in, or can we actually add this in instead? Or it gives you plenty of times to be able to say, like, these are my thoughts on this page. Let's
Yeah.
implement this. Let's try this instead. So it's and it should be a very collaborative process. With any story that I work on, I never ever finalize the first sketch that I do. So what you'll see as an author is probably the tip of the iceberg. There will be about 50 pages of like scattered sketches around and where I've like had an idea in the middle of dinner and scribbled on a napkin or like it just gets the clutter out and then I do loads of variations. So there are variations with bigger eyes, bigger ears. I've done variations where she's really fluffy around the neck, and I've done variations where um I've tried different types of cat noses, different types of ways of doing her mouth. And little things like even just the size of the eyes can make such a difference, especially with a child connecting. Because when we do think about children, obviously they are a lot smaller than us. Their eyes do tend to sit a bit larger in their face. So having a character with slightly larger eyes does tend to appeal to that audience. So even little things like that can make quite the difference to not only how old Gidget looks, but how the audience relates to Gidget. So even if the very first sketch that I draw, I love, and I'm like, that's the one, I'll force myself to go and do at least 40 more to then come back and go, actually, now that I've tried all these other methods, is this the one? And I think it was about the third or fourth one that I drew that we ended up agreeing on. But I'm really glad that I did the rest of that process because I was very sure that that was the one. And then I think I presented you with like my favorite two.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll present more, but I just kind of felt like they were my strongest.
How to tell if your work is being presented in a genuine form from the creator or if they may be using AI. AI right now it's skyrocketing. It's everywhere. And so I know as authors, if they're just now getting started, I know that can be terrifying. You don't know if you're getting AI really, or like you said, the samples, that's such a great idea. I never thought about that. That's a great idea.
It's honestly something I recommend so much, as you say, especially with AI.
Mhm.
There are things to look out for in AI, such as it's really bad with hands. You end up with like six fingers or extra
Mhm.
limbs in random places. So there's things to look out for. But in general, AI is just going to get better and better as we go forwards. And that's is going to happen. There's no point in my mind fighting against that because AI can only take you so far. AI only sees images that have already been created. So unless your character has already been created or something incredibly similar, then you aren't going to get anything new or unique. Um, and that's why it can be difficult with AI. Because while it can look really nice and polished, the consistency of the characters can be difficult to maintain for AI. And just that spark that really brings it to life, that you know human hands that as we've gone through our books, we've added bits in and we've elaborated on some bits, which is not something you typically get from an AI.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely something to be aware of, especially if you are paying an illustrator's rates. You
Yeah.
definitely don't want to end up with AI, because AI can't actually be copyrighted either.
Right. Right.
So anybody could then just use your book images for their own stories.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, completely. And I feel so awful for authors because it can be hard to see what is actually AI and what isn't. So yeah, it's tough. Sketches are a big thing because if someone's just jumping straight to final artwork, that's probably AI, because I would waste so many hours jumping to final artwork just to not even get the premise in the same ballpark. Because as you said, you've got a vision of what you want happening on the pages. And if I went completely the wrong direction and spent 12 hours on a piece that just didn't make any sense to you, it would be a complete waste of my time. So the only person that would jump to the end would be somebody that is using clip art or AI. And I also suggest when you get a sample, ask for a change. Even if the sample is actually perfect, ask for a small change, because if that person can't make that change, it's probably AI, it's probably stolen artwork, because they aren't physically able to either change the direction of the head, change the shape of the eyes, change the little bit of the pose, change the clothing that character's wearing, anything like that. It doesn't have to be huge, but just enough so that you know that everything being created is unique and that you are being actively listened to and your changes are actually being implemented and not just ignored.
And that's a wrap for today's conversation. I hope this video gave you some clear insight as an author into what it looks like to really bring your children's book to life, to go through the process of working with an illustrator, and most importantly, finding the right illustrator to bring your story to life. If you are an author, an aspiring author, or maybe you have already written your children's book, but you're in the middle of your search to find your perfect illustrator, I would love to meet you and hear about your journey. I always love getting to meet fellow writers, fellow creatives, so make sure to drop any questions or feel free to tell me about your experience down in the comments below. If you found today's video helpful for your author journey, make sure to like and hit subscribe for future videos, and you can also share today's video with other fellow authors. It may help them in their journey to find the right illustrator. And if you are interested in exploring my children's book series, Gidget, the Pretty Kitty Detective, I will have links in the description below where you can shop them on my personal website, as well as Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I will have a link to Stardust Book Services so you can check out all of their incredible team and amazing pre-publication services for authors and illustrators. I will also have links to Zoe's social pages so you can get a closer look into her beautiful and talented illustrations. Zoe and I just finished celebrating the book anniversary for our children's book series. Gidget the Pretty Kitty Detective officially turned 2 on February the 7th. I will have that YouTube video down in the description below if you would like to learn more about our children's book series and the process of what it took to bring the stories to life. Until next time, fellow writers and fellow creatives, keep your pen moving and your creativity always brewing. Bye!